are the most interesting things you've learned over the last few years?
Well, it is fun to learn. I would say Charlie is much more of a learning machine than I am. I'm a specialized one, and and he does as well as I do in my specialty, and then he's got a much more general absorption rate than I have about what's going on in the world. But you know, it's a world that gets more fascinating all the time, and a lot of fun can occur when you learn you were wrong on something. That's when you really learn that the old ideas really weren't so correct, and you have to adapt a new ones, and that of course is difficult. I don't know that I would pick out. Well, I think actually what's going on, in America is terribly, terribly interesting. And politically, all kinds of things, but just the way the world's unfolding. It's moving fast. I do enjoy trying, to figure out not only what's going to happen, but what's even happening now. But I don't think I've got any special insights that would be useful to you. But maybe Charlie does.
Well, I think buying the Apple stock is a good sign in Warren. And now he did run around Omaha and ask if he could take his grandchildren's tablets away. And I mean, he did market research. And I do think we keep learning. And more important, we don't unlearn the old tricks. And that is really important. You look at the people who try and solve their problems by printing money and lying and so forth. Take Puerto Rico. Who would have guessed that a territory of the United States would be in bankruptcy? Well, I would have predicted it because they behaved like idiots.
We did not buy any Puerto Rico bonds.
No. And if you go to Europe, you go to Europe, you look at the government bond portfolios we're required to hold in Europe. There's not only no Greek bonds, they're the bonds of nobody but Germany. Just everywhere you look in Berkshire, somebody is being sensible. And that is a great pleasure. And you combine that with being very opportunistic so that when something comes along, like a panic, it's like playing with two hands instead of one in a game that requires two hands. It helps to have a fair-sized repertoire. And Warren, we've learned so damn much. There are all kinds of things we've done in the last 10 years we would not have done 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's true. Although, if you take, it's interesting. I've mentioned this before, but one of the best books on investment was written, I think in 1958. I think I read it around 1960, by Phil Fisher, called "Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits." And
all the companies went to hell eventually.
But it talked about the importance, or the usefulness of what he called the Scuttlebutt Method. And that was something I didn't learn from Graham, but every now and then it's turned out to be very useful. Now, it doesn't solve everything, and there's a whole lot of more.
I saw you do it with American Express and the salad oil scandal.
Yeah.
You're still doing it on Apple, decades later.
Yeah, in certain cases, you actually can learn a lot just by asking a lot of questions. And I give Phil Fisher credit. That book goes back a lot of years, but as Charlie said, some of the companies he picked as winners forever did sort of peter out on him. But the basic idea, you can learn a lot of things just by asking in some cases. I used to, if I got interested in the coal industry, just say, to pick one out of the air, when I was much younger, more energetic, if I went and talked to the heads of 10 coal companies, and I asked each one of them way later into the conversation after they got feeling very, it felt like talking, and I would just, I'd just say, if you had to go away for 10 years on a desert island and you had to put all of your family's money into one of your competitors, which one would it be and why? And then, and then I'd ask them if they had to sell short one of their competitors for 10 years, all their family money, why? And everybody loves talking about their competitors. And if you do that with 10 different companies, you'll probably have a better fix on the economics of the coal industry than any one of those individuals has. I mean, there's ways of getting at things, and sometimes they're useful, sometimes they're not. But sometimes they can be very useful. And the idea of just learning more all the time about, I'm more specialized than that by far than Charlie. I mean, he wants to learn about everything, and I just want to learn about something that will help Berkshire. But it's a very it's a very useful attitude toward the world. And of course, I don't know who said it, but somebody said the problem is not in getting the new ideas, but shedding the old ones. And there's a lot of truth to that.
We would never have bought ISCAR if it had come along 10 years earlier. We would never have bought precision cast parts if it had come along 10 years earlier. We are learning, and my God, we're still learning.